welcome back to another exciting project. I'm excited to have you here as we dive into something both fun and practical. In today's project, we're going to build a dynamic, random image feed that updates every time you interact with it. This is a great way to learn how to work with images and buttons in JavaScript. If you take a look at the final version of our project, you'll notice that we have 6 images displayed initially. Every time we refresh the page, new random images appear, giving our website a fresh and dynamic feel. On top of that, we've added a handy button at the bottom of the page. With a simple click, this button fetches and adds even more new images to the website, making the feed feel alive and interactive. To get these images for free, we'll be using a website called Lorem Picsum, which provides a wide range of random placeholder images perfect for testing and designing. With no further delay, let's proceed to the next section and start building the HTML foundation for our project. Let's get started with our project. To begin our tutorial, we open Visual Studio Code. Let's close the Get Started tab first, then head to the File menu and select Open Folder. For this tutorial, I'll create the project folder on my desktop, but feel free to choose any spot on your computer. In this step, we select the desktop and then click the New Folder button to create our new folder. Let's give this new folder a name like Random Photos to match our project. Once our folder is named Random Photos, we click here to select it. Let's close the Get Started tab once more, then in the Explorer section on the left, we create a new HTML file. To create it, we right-click in the Explorer panel and select the New File option. We enter the name index.html for the file and press Enter to confirm. You'll see our index.html file open on the right side, completely empty for now. In the following step, type an exclamation mark to generate the HTML5 boilerplate. Let's type an exclamation mark and select the first auto-suggestion. To make the code easier to view, press Alt-Z to enable word wrap. Take a look at this HTML5 boilerplate, which includes the doc type that tells the browser we are using HTML5. In our HTML5 setup, we simply include the HTML element right here. Moving on to the HTML tag, it serves as the top-level element in the HTML file. This lang attribute on the HTML tag declares the primary language of our web page, which is English in this example. After the HTML tag, we include the head tag followed by the body tag. Inside the head tag, you'll find 3 meta tags along with a title tag. The charset attribute sets the character encoding for our HTML page, and HTML5 recommends UTF-8 because it supports nearly every character and symbol. Following that, this meta tag tells the Internet Explorer to use its latest rendering engine, which is Microsoft Edge. This viewport meta tag guides the browser on how to resize the page, where the first part sets the page's width to match the device's screen. For instance, picture viewing the page on a mobile phone, where the screen is smaller than a desktop's, allowing the page width to adjust perfectly and fit the display. The second part of this setting establishes the initial zoom at 100%. Following the meta tags, the title tag sets the name shown in the Browser tab. To preview our title in a browser view right inside Visual Studio Code, we'll use the Live Preview extension. To launch the preview, right-click in the editor and select Show Preview from the Live Preview menu. Over on the right side, you will see the preview window open like a browser, showing an empty page, but with the default title of Document. Let's update the title to better match our project. Let's close the Explorer panel first by dragging the edge line to the left. With the Explorer panel closed, we update the title to Random Photos. After updating the title, we can see Random Photos displayed in the Browser tab. Let's resize the preview window to a smaller size. In the body section, let's add a container to hold all the images on our page. We can simply name it container, but for better clarity, let's specify image container instead. Let's click on the auto suggestion to add a div with the class image container. To get our random images, we'll use a website called Lorem Picsum. In this step, we head to our desktop and open Google Chrome. In the search bar, we type Lorem Picsum and press enter. I forgot to include the S in Picsum. Looking at the top search result, we find the website picsum.photos. You'll notice the website is called Lorem Picsum. Let's go ahead and click on this website. Once you check the site's tutorial, you'll see how straightforward it is to use. This link lets you generate a photo-sized 200 by 300 pixels. Go ahead and copy this link, open a new tab, paste it there, and press enter to see a photo appear. Try pasting it once more, and you'll see a different photo appear. To generate a square photo, for example size 200 by 200 pixels, simply use the bottom link. Let's copy this link and test it in the browser. You'll see a square image appear every time we paste this link into the browser. You'll notice that repeating this link always displays the same image. Occasionally, the browser caches the image and displays the same one repeatedly. To avoid the browser caching the same image repeatedly, append a simple query parameter to the end of the URL, like random1, random2, or similar variations. This ensures that we receive a different image each time. To display these images on our page, we need to add image tags inside our HTML. In this step, we copy 2 image tags and return to Visual Studio Code. After pasting those links into the image tags, 2 different images appear in our preview. However, these images appear too small for our needs right now. For our project, we prefer these images at 300 by 300 pixels. To make the images larger at 300 by 300 pixels, we remove the 200 part from the links. Look at that, we now have 2 images displayed properly. Let's add one more image to our page. In this step, we duplicate the previous line by pressing Alt, Shift, and the down arrow keys. To complete our trio of images, we update the number from 2 to 3. This adjustment gives us 3 images in total. With our images ready inside the container, we add a button right after it. Let's add a button right after the container and give it the class btn. Inside this button element, let's add the simple text, Load More. Let's select the auto suggestion to add the button text. This creates a button with the class btn displaying Load More text. Later in this tutorial, we will program this button to load additional images from the website using JavaScript. In the upcoming section, we'll apply CSS to style our project nicely. After wrapping up the HTML setup, join me in the next section for CSS styling. In the previous section, we completed the HTML structure of our project. In this part, we'll make our project look better by adding CSS styles. To begin adding styles, we will create a CSS file. To access the Explorer panel, press Ctrl, Shift, and E together, then right-click on the left side and select New File. We name the file style.css and press Enter to create it. Before we apply any styles using CSS, include a link to the CSS file inside the HTML structure. Let's return to the index.html file and add a link tag right below the title tag. Simply type link and select the third automatic suggestion. Click on the one that says CSS. We include a link tag that connects our HTML file to the external style sheet. The href attribute specifies the path to the linked file, and since both the index.html and style.css files sit in the same folder, we simply enter style.css as the value. With this connection established, we are ready to apply CSS styles to our project. After saving this file, let's close the Explorer panel by dragging the line to the left. Let's begin by styling the body section. Let's start by typing body and then open a set of curly braces. We'll start by removing the default margin using margin 0. In the following step, we apply Display Flex to center the items horizontally. To apply this, we simply enter Display Flex. Notice how the button has shifted to the right side. To reposition the item properly, let's set the flex direction to column, which stacks it vertically toward the bottom of the screen. In the following step, we can apply Align Items Center to bring the items to the horizontal center. You can see the button has now centered itself, but the images remain on the left. To fix this centering issue, we can reduce the image size. Alternatively, we can wrap the images inside a div with a class named ImageContainer. In this step, we simply enter ImageContainer as the class name. To center all the images properly, we apply Text-Align Center to that class. Notice how, when we make the browser window larger, two images appear side by side. And if we make the window smaller, only one image appears. As you can see, this layout is already responsive, so now we focus on styling the images to enhance their appearance. In the next step, let's set the background color for the body element. Let's select a suitable color for the background. For the background, I am going to select a warm brown color. This warm brown color suits our project well. With the background now in place, let's turn our attention to styling the images. Let's start by typing ImageContainer followed by img. This selector targets the img tag inside the ImageContainer class. With this selector ready, we can add a margin to the images. Simply enter 20 pixels as the margin value. That appears a bit too spacious, so let's adjust it to 10 pixels instead. In the next adjustment, we round the image corners using border radius. In this adjustment, we use border radius to round the corners of the images. We add a 10-pixel border to the images. In the next step, we can add a box shadow to the images. We create a subtle shadow effect around the images. In the box shadow property, the first value sets the horizontal position of the shadow. We set that value to 0 for no horizontal offset, followed by the vertical position of the shadow. For the vertical position, we set it to 4 pixels. Notice how the dark shadow begins to appear below the image. We also can set the blur value to 8 pixels. The final value here specifies the color of our box shadow. To specify the shadow color, we use the RGBA function. We enter 0 for the red, green, and blue components. This setting produces the black color for our shadow. The next component is alpha, which controls transparency. We set the alpha value to 0.3, which creates 30% transparency. Let's proceed by adding a background color to the images. We set the background to light gray. Right now, you cannot see that background color because the width and height of the images have not been set yet. In the following step, we set the width to 300 pixels and the height to 300 pixels as well. This background color acts as a placeholder if the image fails to load. This background also serves as a preloader while images load. This becomes especially visible when loading a large number of images at once. With the images ready, let's style the button now. We already have the button placed here on the page. To style our button, we target its class named btn. In this step, we begin typing .btn to target the button class. Let's set the button's background color to slate blue for a nice look. In this step, we remove the border entirely. To achieve this, we set the border property to none. In the following step, we add padding to the button. we'll set 10 pixels of padding for the top and bottom, and 20 pixels for the sides. In the next adjustment, let's add some margin to the button. We set the margin to 20 pixels. Notice how the button appears with the added margin. In this adjustment, let's set the text color to white. In the following step, let's add a subtle border to the button. To give the button rounded corners, we apply the border radius property. We'll set the value to 5 pixels for a subtle rounding effect. In addition, let's enhance the button with a subtle box shadow. For the horizontal offset of the shadow, we set it to 0. This determines the horizontal position of the shadow. We set the vertical position to 4 pixels for the shadow. We set the blur radius to 8 pixels. For the shadow color, we select plain black. We set the transparency level to 30%. In the next adjustment, let's change the cursor to a pointer. When you hover your mouse over the button, the cursor changes to a pointing hand. In the next step, let's apply the hover pseudo class. In this effect, we reduce the button's opacity when hovering over it. To achieve this effect, we set the opacity to 90%. You'll notice a subtle change in the button's appearance. We have now completed the styling for our button. We've also finished the CSS styling for our project. In the upcoming section, we will add dynamic loading to these images. This means the images will appear dynamically on the page. Whenever we click the button, more images will appear on the page. This dynamic loading will happen right inside our website. In the upcoming section, we'll dive into the JavaScript part of our project. In the previous section, we completed styling our project using CSS. In this section, we'll bring our project to life by adding interactive features with JavaScript. Let's begin by adding an event listener to this button. Every time we click this button, fresh images will appear from the Lorem Picsum website. You'll be able to load fresh images endlessly with each button click. To begin using JavaScript, let's create a new file for it. To create the JavaScript file, press Ctrl+Shift+E to open the Explorer panel, then right-click on the left side and select New File. Let's name the file index.js and then press Enter to create it. To integrate JavaScript into our project, we must link the file within the HTML code. Let's return to the index.html file and add a script tag right before the closing body tag. Type SC in the code, then select the second autocomplete option. The src attribute points to the location of our JavaScript file, so with index.html and index.js in the same folder, we simply write index.js as the path. With this link in place, JavaScript becomes available for our project. Let's begin by selecting the div with the image container class and storing it in a constant within our JavaScript file. This allows us to add new images to it later using the createElement method. Since we're selecting by class, we must use the querySelector method to retrieve the element. Let's switch to the index.js file and create a constant named imageContainerElement. We assign it by writing document.querySelector, which selects the element using the CSS selector.image container. We will apply the same method to select the button. Press Alt+Z to enable word wrap and view the full code easily, then close the Explorer panel for a clearer display and extra space in the browser. We also need to select this button to add an event listener to it. This button uses the class btn, so we select it using the same method as before. Let's create a constant named btnElement and assign it using document.querySelector with .btn inside the parentheses to select the button by its class. With the button selected, let's add an event listener by writing btnElement.add event listener. The event we want to add is the click event, So whenever someone clicks the button, it will trigger a function that we define right here. To check if the event listener works properly, let's add a console log that simply prints the word clicked. In the next step, we open the console by clicking the hamburger icon and selecting the Developer Tools pane. With the console open, clicking the button will display clicked each time we press it. Now, inside this event handler, let's define a function named addNewImages, which will add more images to our container. To create an image element inside this function, we use the createElement method. We create a new img element using document.createElement with img as the type because it requires a source attribute to load the image. For the source attribute, assign it to our new image element by using the same URL structure, but we'll modify that fixed number to generate a random one. Let's copy the original link and enclose it within backticks right here. With the link enclosed in backticks, we can generate this number randomly. In the next step, replace the fixed number 1 with a dynamic value by adding a $sign followed by curly braces, then generate a random number using math.random multiplied by 2000 to get a range from 0 up to that value, though keep in mind the result needs rounding since math.random produces decimals between 0 and 1. To round this number down correctly, wrap the entire expression inside math_floor. This setup generates a number ranging from 0 up to 2000. With the image created and its source set, we now add it to the container using the image container element we selected earlier by calling appendChild and passing the new image as the child. When we click the button, the addNewImages function gets called. Right now, with 3 images already displayed, clicking the Load More button adds one additional image. Currently, each button click adds just one image, but to load multiple images at once, we can wrap this code inside a loop. In the next step, we implement a for loop to generate multiple images. Let me demonstrate by typing the word for, then selecting the for loop option from the autocomplete suggestions. This creates a basic loop with an index starting from 0. And we adjust the condition to run it for the number of images we desire. Before setting up the loop, declare a variable named ImageNum and assign it a value like 10. In this example, we'll generate 10 images by placing the addNewImages function call inside the for loop to run it that many times. With this change, clicking the Load More button will add 10 new images every time. Hold on. It's not working as expected right now. The reason it's not working is that we declared this variable using let inside the function, which keeps it inaccessible from the loop, so we simply need to remove that let keyword. With that adjustment in place, clicking the Load More button adds 10 new images each time. In the next step, let's increase the initial number of images to 6 for a better start. To achieve this, duplicate the line 3 additional times using Alt plus Shift plus down arrow. Let's continue duplicating and change this value to 4. Continue duplicating the lines to set the values for 5 and 6. In the next step, let's launch our project in the browser by clicking the hamburger icon and selecting Open in Browser. Let me demonstrate by closing the Explorer panel and resizing the window smaller. Once the page loads in the browser, you'll notice 6 images displayed right away. Each click on the Load More button adds 10 fresh ones and makes completely new images each time thanks to our random number between 0 and 2000. While similar images can occasionally show up, but as the random number is between 1 and 200, it is quite rare to have similar ones. We've successfully completed our project. I hope you not only enjoyed the process of building it, but also picked up some new and valuable JavaScript skills along the way. Remember, each small step you take in coding brings you closer to mastering these concepts and becoming more confident in your abilities. I'm genuinely excited to see you in the next project, where we'll explore even more interesting techniques and challenges together. Keep experimenting, stay curious, and let's continue growing as developers, one project at a time.